You're listening to the Jay Bird Watching Podcast, the official podcast of jaysjournal.com and fansided.com. We are the official ballroom chat for everything Toronto Blue Jays baseball, from game highlights to rumors and all the stuff in between. Here's your host, Craig Borden, with co-hosts Jason Lyons and Liz McGuire. Now let's talk some Toronto Blue Jays baseball.
Hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome to Jay Bird Watching. I am your host, Craig Borden. We're going to have a wonderful, fun time talking all sorts of Ask That Blue Jay legend, Rance Mulliniks. So before I say hi to Jason, I just said Rance already. So Rance, welcome back to the show. We got you 3 times like in a month and a half. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
So how things going? You staying a little warmer down there in the El Paso area?
Well, I'm not in El Paso. I'm back home in
That's
California here in Visalia, but for us, it's been cold, but I'm not going to compare that to the Great White North.
Yeah, you should see. We've got an atmospheric river going on right now, which I've coined that term a couple of times on this show, just so people can Google it and go look. But we're getting upwards of 100 millimeters of rain within 24 hours or so, which is a lot. My kids came in like drowned rats, walking a couple of blocks from school to here. And you can't do much, so it's kind of it kind of wrecks the Christmas spirit a little bit. But there's a lot of lights out right now, and I'm excited, to sort of get to the break. And with Christmas on a Wednesday, I believe it is, it makes for some weird days off and weird time off. But excited to get there. And there's tons of baseball stuff going on unexpectedly.
Yeah, with the winter meetings, it's that time of the year.
Yeah, so let's just start right there. Right? When you were playing, was the winter meetings this big of a deal? Because obviously there's a little bit more of it these days because there's all the social media. There's every baseball reporter you can humanly think of. But do you remember any crazy stories outside of probably the Tony Fernandez, Joe Carter, Fred McGriff trade that back when that were just like fresh in your memories?
I really don't. I think to your point, because of social media and the access that everybody has to information today, it's created a lot more interest, a lot more opinions, but not really. It's just that I think it's been magnified because of social media and the access that everyone has, minute to minute information as to what's going on, trade rumors, who may be signed by whom, etc. And I think
it's too much information these days.
I think that makes it a lot more interesting for a lot of people who otherwise, back when I played, my generation, you didn't have just constant feeds as to updates as to what's actually transpiring in conversations.
Yeah, it took a weird phone call with your best buddy Todd or something like that to get your information, right?
Yeah, good old Todd.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting. Like I've there's a bunch of deals that have gone down today, and of course back even 5 years ago, I don't think we would have heard about some of the Rule 5 deals and the minor league deals and stuff for at least another couple of weeks, like sort of until they formulated and hit the Associated Press and rolled out. And, I was being inundated today. As soon as Pete Alonso signed or was, agreed to something, it seemed like the floodgates opened up on a whole bunch of conversations, Kyle Schwarber staying in Philly. But it's for me, I was saying to Craig just before we came on, like normally, like even last year when the winter meetings were on, like nothing happened. Like there's nothing going on in Blue Jaydom. And now they're talking about, I read a report today that the Jays management talked to Bo Bichette and Tucker today, both of them. And so they're not backing off of any of these possibilities. And for me, as a fan and part of the media, I love this. I love the fact that they finally just pedal down. Let's see what we can do. And then Rance, if you saw the other, they're looking at the guy out of the Japanese league again, and the report that Craig and I found, which seems legit, says that they've signed him. it says that they're going to release something in the next couple of days. I like, really? Like, so again,
I don't know what to think about that one. It seems a little murky at this time.
It does. I don't like to believe everything, but I mean, this Toronto Baseball Insider is one that I mean, like when the Dylan C stuff popped, they were the first people to have it. And now they're talking about Okamoto. That's better.
Okamoto, yeah.
Okamoto, as being basically a done deal. That's, so it's nice to see some action. It's nice to see some fun. It's nice to see some people, some craziness going on. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting because of the access to immediate information just constantly. It's very interesting. It's very intriguing, but it also challenges all of us to try to sift through what is actually real, what is actually has potential and is to happen, as opposed to what isn't, and what's really important and what's really not. We have to sift through that. A lot of Rule 5 stuff. There's going to be some things that, in terms of trades and everything, that really aren't that impactful or that significant. So it does force us to kind of sift through or seine through things and say, okay, what really matters in Blue Jay land today? I think number one is sign Bo Bichette.
Which is our actual first fan question right now. Is do you think we get him back?
Yeah, and then I know there's been a lot of talk about this outfielder, Kyle Tucker. Am I saying?
Yeah, you got it.
Yep, Tucker. Yep.
Which, based upon his stats, I think he would be a great addition. But, I think where we are today in Blue Jay land as fans is Bo Bichette.
Yeah. And the beauty of the Bo Bichette situation is it sounds for some reason that even though the Boston Red Sox were kicking the tires on trying to bring Bo Bichette into Boston, it sounds like they've kind of went and walked away already. It might just be a tactic. But as far as these kind of things go, it sounds like the asking price is proper for the Blue Jays still to be in the race here.
Well, again, I'm not up to date on anything that maybe Boston's done or not done in terms of what they're offering, but it's going to obviously take a significant amount of money to sign Bo Bichette. And I think the Blue Jays, to me, the Blue Jays and Bichette, they have played this very close to the vest. So we really don't know, which is probably maybe a good thing. But I think we have to believe that the Blue Jays are making every effort to sign Bo Bichette. And as we all know, we hear a lot of different conversation. We hear a lot of different opinions, a lot of different thoughts, especially this time of the year in the winter meetings. And lots of times things change very, very quickly. And so I think as we get closer to the end of the week and the winter meetings is when we're really going to know how this is all going to shake out.
Yeah, I think that the Vladdy signing has shown us the way that the Blue Jays are going to do business moving forwards. I feel like they realize what, is out there, the speed at which things hit, people's eyes, as well as, the players' eyes as well. And they've really made an effort to be like, what, we're keeping this all really close to the vest. And you guys are going to find out when we want you to find out. We're not rushed. We're not panicked. We're not any of those things. And truthfully, I feel like they got a decent shot at both. Like, I think they're going to sign both. I feel like they're not going to let that relationship and the quality of bat escape them. But I mean, it'd be interesting if they got Tucker. That really changes the outfield, and really put some guys on blast that might have thought they were, locks for the roster this year.
Well, including our general manager or not our actual manager saying that same thing earlier today. So I'm assuming you're alluding to Anthony Santander in that equation, Jason.
Well,
gentleman that we didn't get to see play.
Yeah, I mean, there's Santander. There's a lot of questions in the outfield, but let's be honest. And if they bring Tucker in, that creates probably 3 or 4 more questions, whether they want them to or not. So
I think there's this whole thing about Kyle Tucker too, that one of our buddies in the chat, Mike B, is mentioning. I want Tucker bad, but the Mets are now going to go officially full on hard for the, Cody Bellinger and Kyle Tucker, I think, at this point, because they just lost out on Pete Alonso to the Orioles for the next 5 seasons. So there is that.
And can we also, I don't know if you guys agree with me or not, but I kind of, for a team that I've never really disliked a lot, the Dodgers are sure trying to make it so everybody hates them. Like, I mean, they go out and they get Edwin Diaz. They just don't care. They're like, how much money do you want? Throw it on the pile. Like, whatever. And I like the fact that there's lots of guys that are out there right now that are basically like charging themselves up to go against the Dodgers this year. I think they may get a rude awakening, as good as they are this year, for teams just coming for them.
Yeah. Well, remember how the Yankees used to play everybody, and everybody played up against the Yankees, trying to put them in their place? It's that situation.
Yep.
Rance, when you were playing in your days, or even just being around the game all the years, is there something to that you get amped up to play against the best of the best, and you just go out there and leave it all out on the field?
Yes, I think that's a natural thing. If you realize, if you want to be a champion, if you want to get the postseason and potentially be a championship team, you have to have that kind of desire, that desire to say, we need to go out here and see how we match up against the best, and can we compete against them, and do we have what it takes to compete against them? I think that's a natural thing for anybody or any ball club that wants to potentially be a world championship team. And I think that goes with an attitude. And if I can refer back in the 80s and the early 90s with the Blue Jays, we did have an attitude as a ball club that it didn't matter who we were playing or where we were playing, which maybe even be a little bit more important. We didn't care if we were in Yankee Stadium. We didn't care if we were in Fenway Park. We felt like, you are up against us. We're the bad guys in this situation, and we're here to beat you. And I think that's a necessary attitude to have. But yeah, I think the competitive side of an athlete says, if you really want to be a champion, you have to say, all right, how do we match up against the best of the best? How do we match up against the Dodgers, the Yankees, any number of other clubs you can go around? Just pick your team. And I think
the time you played in, the Oakland A's were the team.
They
Reggie
were
Jackson,
in the
Jose
late 80s.
Canseco.
Yeah,
oh my God.
They were a great ball club at that time. But I think if we go to the Blue Jays of today, I think they've demonstrated that that's the attitude they have. They're not intimidated by anybody. They are supremely confident in their ability to win. And, let's face it, they came within an out or so, or 1 inning.
4 inches.
Or of being a world champion. So, if we go back to Bo Bichette for a minute, I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes, which leads me to believe that Bo, if they can work it out, I think his preference is to stay with the Blue Jays. And as it relates, let's see if we can go to anybody else that they're maybe trying to sign, in particular this outfielder who I think is an outstanding player. I think what it comes down to is, are you willing to stay in Toronto and be a part of a great organization and a championship team, maybe possibly for a little less money than it is to go someplace else? And I think we'll get the answer to that here within a reasonable time frame.
Yeah, Aaron Boone, I mean, I don't know if you guys heard it or not this week, but Aaron Boone, for the first, I've never heard a manager ever say this ever, he was like, the Jays were better than us all year. They beat us up. They beat us around. They showed us what it's like to play team baseball. They were better than us. And I think that the interesting thing to what you said there, Rance, is I don't know Rogers' pockets are ridiculously deep. I don't know if Bo has to take a haircut to stay in Toronto. That's the beautiful thing about what we're dealing with here, is we're dealing with a pretty deep pot of money. And so if Bo asks for $30 million, or, I think most people are talking sort of in that what were they, Craig, like 22 or 23 or somewhere in that wheelhouse? I mean, they can easily get there and then, see where they go from there. I mean, they've got lots of money. I know Kyle Tucker's going to be asking for a heap of change too.
Right.
They're signing pitchers for 5 to 7 years, which is kind of scary sometimes. But I think that we're in an era right now with this management group where they've kind of said, the checkbook's here. Write your numbers down, and we'll see you in the World Series every year for the next couple of years.
I do believe that if the Blue Jays, obviously sometimes you can't sign someone that you want for there's for any number of reasons, but I believe if the Blue Jays are able to be shrewd in what they do, either in keeping somebody or an addition to the ball club, this is a team that over the next 5 or 6 years has the chance to be very special. And, as it comes to Kyle Turk, I mean, we already know what we have in Bo Bichette. He's a tremendous player, tremendous hitter, tremendous team player. And I think he's motivated to win a championship, which I think is critical. So you bring in Kyle Tucker, assuming you sign. The thing for me that I would want as a team member, as a member of the organization, is this someone that comes in who is a real good fit for our ball club? In other words, he wants to play to win. He wants to win a championship. He's not about individual statistics, etc. And is a real good addition in terms of his attitude. You don't want to bring somebody in that may be a tremendous player, but he doesn't bring with him some of those special qualities that you need. Maybe he's a little bit of a disruption in the clubhouse, etc. That's not what you want. And I'm not saying that
we never had any of those. Don't worry.
Rance, are you
that's
saying that the Yankees are a dysfunctional ball club because they just try and bring in superstars?
No, I'm not saying that the Yankees are dysfunctional. But what I am saying is where the Blue Jays are today, it is really important that, you want to add a talented player that can really contribute on the field. There's no question about that. But you don't want to have a problem child either. That can be a disruption in the clubhouse or a distraction away from what you're trying to accomplish. And I think that's critical. And
especially seeing all the stuff that we saw, even in interviews with players, the stuff after the World Series, everything. This clubhouse is as tight as it humanly possibly can be. And I'm a big believer that chemistry is worth just as much as anything else we're putting out on the field. I've been on some really, really bad, quote unquote, talented teams. And we were some of the best teams in the league just because we knew how to play each other and pick up for one another. It was a true team thing. And I do truly believe that this Blue Jays team, the glue is just solid. The foundation is built. To your point, you bring back Bo, you bring in some other pieces. They have to fit that puzzle. Otherwise, you're just going to have some kind of a weird mesh and things aren't going to land right. And that is what I loved about hearing what Dylan Cease finally was able to talk to the media the last couple of days during the winter meetings. The Blue Jays just threw a giant brick of money for him to be their true ace for the coming future, because don't forget, after this year, the pitching staff is going to get a little even more rocky. We're going to lose Gossman potentially and so on and so forth. There's already all these trade rumors about Barrios ending up somewhere else potentially. And it's just crazy. So now we have another gentleman that's coming in and filling this void. And even though he's saying all the right things, it's not lip service to me. He's been stating he wanted to come to the Blue Jays. He told Scott Boras he wanted to come to the Blue Jays.
Right.
He's going to get the best deal he can, but that's where he thought he would be able to be at his best. And I think that is the best way to say it, because if he's at his best, that means the team's at his best, and so on and so forth. And it just really moves through it. I thought that was really, really nice of him to be talking in that mantra.
It is. It's very good to hear that. But to your point, I believe this. Anyone who is a free agent right now and has a chance to come to the Toronto Blue Jays, that if they really want to win, I believe a lot of those guys, they're motivated to come to Toronto right now because, look, players see how other teams play the game.
Yeah.
And you look at a team like Toronto and you say, they play it the right way. Their goal is to win. It's not an individual statistic situation. It's not a me, I situation. It's a situation where they want to win. And I want to go there because that is my ultimate goal. Yeah, I want to make a lot of money and I want to get what I feel I'm worth in terms of value. Yeah. But if I can get that in Toronto and have a chance to win, I've got the best of both worlds. But if I can go back for a moment and talk about the importance of bringing somebody in whose goal really is to win a championship. 92, we brought in Dave Winfield. And I can tell you, Dave's goal was to win a World Series. And he made that very clear from day one. The next year, they bring in Paul Molitor. Paul's goal was to win a World Series. They ended up winning World Series. It doesn't mean it's going to guarantee anything, but you brought in two people who are now Hall of Famers, and were already Hall of Famers when you brought them to the ball club. But what was their goal? They wanted to win a World Series championship. So when they came in, they were a positive. And they let everybody in the clubhouse know, this is why I'm here. I want to win a championship. And so I think it's critical that any addition that the Blue Jays make now has that type of attitude. And I think Bo Bichette is obviously clearly demonstrated that he wants to win a championship. And
I think he got teased at it because he had to have been as good as he played in the World Series on a bum knee.
Yeah.
He wanted to be in that whole race, not just sitting there on the dugout. So I just can't imagine being in that mindset.
Well, arguably the biggest home run of the playoffs.
Yeah, he obviously did. But if I can revert back, if we can just take a step back for a moment. I saw a comment today that Aaron Boone, he said, well, we matched the Blue Jays in record during the regular season, right? And that is true. But let me throw this out there. The Blue Jays played without Bo Bichette the last month of the season. They played with Barrios basically without the last month of the season. He won the DL. Bassett, in the middle of September, went on the DL and missed the rest of the regular season. So what would the Blue Jays record have been if all three of those are healthy through September? I say they win 102, maybe 103 games. So,
or even this one to that point, call up Yasevich a few weeks early.
There you go.
Healthy Santander.
Santander. So I guess we all understand the point is that I definitely feel like although they had their regular season records were the same, I still feel like a healthy Blue Jay ball club was 4 or 5, maybe even 6 games better than the Yankees during the regular season. So
I will say this though, I think that interestingly, this was probably one of the healthiest years the Jays have had in a long time. Like there was, I mean, you're never going to go the whole year without.
Look at the year before,
but yeah, I mean, it was.
Well, they were very healthy till they got to September.
Yeah, well.
The grind started happening.
And Santander, unfortunately missed most of the season. And let's hope that he's completely healthy because I think he can be a big contributor going into 2026. So let's hope that he's 100% by then. But I think that where the Blue Jays are right now is if they are able to sign Bichette and make a couple of other maybe sign Kyle Tucker, bring him in. They're in a position to where they can just do nothing but get better and stay better for the next 5 or 6 years and really have a great opportunity to win a World Series.
Exactly. It's just really cool to see what they've been seeing. This has been one of the most fun off seasons I can remember. Part of it's because you do, like we were talking about at the beginning of the show, you hear about it. Mm-hmm. It's like not the great shuffle that we saw, even leading into those years for the World Series with you and everybody in 92 and 93. There was that hole in the early 90s where we literally changed all-stars around with Alomar and Carter, and then losing Tony and the crime dog Fred McGriff. These obviously that's part of the off season. These pieces move in and out. They're trying to put the best team on the field. And I truly think that Rodgers and everybody with this team, for the first time in a very, very long time, it feels like that mantra. We always got that little cool, sexy move here, or this thing happened there, but this is just, you can tell they are not trying to let off the gas. This thing is going to the World Series or bust one way or the other at this point. And I think that's a true confidence thing. So anyway.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. I think the Blue Jays realize they are in a very unique position, and it's a window that closes very quickly. But if you can do some things right now that are great additions to your ball club, you have a chance to really be special for the next 5 or 6 years. And I think they see that opportunity. And I truly believe they're making every effort to seize, to capitalize on that. It's going to be very interesting here in the next few days to see how this all starts to shake out.
Exactly. So one really cool thing that was actually funny enough, I think the MVP pickup of all last off season was awarded something very, very cool today. Did you all see that the Blue Jays hitting coach Dave Hopkins was actually awarded the MLB Coach of the Year award today?
I did not see that, but congratulations. Deserved. From what I think, that not having a conversation with the man, but just seeing how the Blue Jays this year offensively, they didn't strike out at a prolific rate. They made a lot of contact. They made effort to move runners, emphasis on doing some little things, kind of a taking a step back in time and maybe taking a mental approach that the past generation had, to where let's make more contact, let's cut down on the strikeouts, let's move runners along, those types of things. And it was probably a challenge for him. Well, maybe or maybe not, I don't know. But to get players to buy into that, which goes back to the whole team concept. He was able, I think, just as an outsider watching the Blue Jays perform, get them to buy into, look, if we cut down on the strikeouts, we make more contact, we move runners along, we hit behind runners, etc. It's going to make us more successful and make us more productive overall than just in terms of slugging and hitting a ball out of the ballpark. Our on-base percentage is going to go up.
Yeah.
Our batting average with runners in position is going to go up. So in other words, we're going to see an improvement across the board in all of these categories. And so congratulations to him. Well deserved.
Yeah. Jason, take me back 1 year prior, before this epic rise that was here. We had this different mantra that was clearly busted, and it was getting too many strikeouts. Yeah. They were focusing too much, I think, on just the information crazy that is turned into the analytics in the baseball game. What has that been the defining new role in the Blue Jays that Dave Hopkins and company ended up pushing, and how that became night and day for us?
I feel like the big, George Springer spoke about it a few times during the year. I felt like Addison Barger, just before the playoffs started, excuse me, he was mentioning how Pop had sort of just talked to him about this and that, like nothing that was too severe. I think that the biggest change that I saw from the Jays this year was that they went to the plate with purpose every single time. It didn't matter if it was 12-0 for the Jays, a 2-1 game. It didn't matter at all. They had a purpose. They knew what their plan was when they were going into the box, and they were executing on it. I mean, you look at a guy like Ernie Clement, like Ernie's an excellent baseball player. I'm never going to take anything away from Ernie's baseball skill or any of that other stuff. But can you honestly look me in the face and say that 2 years ago, when you and I were talking about Ernie Clement, he would be the best contact guy in the league? Like he has elite contact levels. Alejandro Kirk, elite contact numbers. Bo Bichette, elite contact numbers. And, when you're as good as they are and you're as strong as they are, those balls start to go out. So the guys that jumped on the bandwagon this year, we saw the biggest jumps with. George Springer is first and foremost. He changed very little in his swing other than a slight drop and a longer path through the zone, which Pop talked about at the start of the year. When we were watching spring training, we talked about it. We were like, who are these guys? Like, Jimenez was going like 4 for 4 every game. It was like
and Springer couldn't hit his way out of the brown paper bag.
Yeah, and it's like you start to make those small little adjustments, and like Rance was saying, it's a full buy-in. And once you give yourself into the game and to make changes and realize that maybe the way you've been doing it for the last 15 years isn't the best way to do it, you can revert a little bit. Like, let's be honest, the swing that Barger took at that the ball he hit 4,000 miles, the Grand Slam, that wasn't a contact swing. He wasn't trying to hit a single into the gap. He was trying to put a hole in the back of the stadium, which, again, to me, sees the advancement of a hitter like him, where he can, he can go all gas, or he can hit a ball into a gap and use his speed, or, I mean, we even saw with Nathan Lukes and some, they can lay down a bunt and try and, move runners around. Like, it was a whole different buy-in, and it started in spring training, and it started with Pop, and it's a great that he got the award. And I feel like looking at the around the league, there's about 5 or 6 guys like him that are going to be the next I feel like the next generation of managers is about to have their clean out. Like, there's a lot of guys who've been doing this job for a long time in the majors, and it's about time to hit that sort of recycle button on about 15 teams in the majors and get some young blood in there and get some guys that are willing to steal 3 bases in an inning or bunt twice, or,
the game is always evolving, Jason. That's the best part of the game. There's always somebody looking for an edge. It doesn't matter what area you play in. It's always something. And I love that this brand of baseball of let's finally hit the damn ball and play is starting to come back a little bit.
It's starting to come back in vogue a little bit. But to Jason's point, I think I take 2 words from what he said there is buy-in. And one of the great challenges that you have as a manager or a hitting coach, pitching coach, etc., is can you get the players to buy in to what you're trying to get them to do? And a great illustration is what he just described with George Springer. That is a great challenge, because you're dealing with athletes that have experienced unbelievable success, doing things that they're accustomed to doing. But to set them down and say, look, here's where you can be a little bit better in some situations, that's going to not only help you be better maybe as a player, but most certainly is going to help us be better as a team and help us win ball games. If you're just willing to buy into that. And that's a challenge that can be very difficult to overcome. And, again, kudos. He somehow he's figured out a way to punch through that and get the players to buy in. And I will say this, and I think I said it earlier, maybe in one of our podcasts. When I was in Toronto in September, I was watching the game. They were playing the Houston Astros. Runner at second base, nobody out. Vladimir Guerrero hits a hard ground ball to first base. And it was clear to me, as somebody who played, that he was definitely trying to hit the ball to the right side in the event that he did not get a base hit. He was going to move that runner to third. Okay, so 2 points here. First of all, that says to me, Vladimir Guerrero is playing to win. That's first and foremost. And it also says that Vladimir Guerrero knows that the guy that's hitting behind him is going to make every effort to put the ball in play and score that run and not strike out swinging for the fences.
Yeah.
So it doesn't get any better than that, guys. When you have that kind of combination working, you are a difficult team to beat.
It's so 100%. True. And I mean, the other thing that the Jays had going for them this year, which was similar to the way that the Dodgers and the Phillies operate, is it's fear tip to tail. Like, they were scary from start to finish. Like, there was no pitching around Vladdy to get to Bo, or no pitching around Bo to get to Ernie Clement, or you know what I mean? Like anybody.
Well, just the fact that even Andres Jimenez was hitting at the end of the season, finally, when he got some legs underneath him. He was not healthy the whole season, and he definitely showed that he came back strong at the end of that, Jason. So you tip the tail 100% is the right.
Well, that's great point, because prior to the start of the World Series, I heard Derek Jeter said, he was very complimentary of the Dodgers. He said, they're kind of a juggernaut type team. And personally, I think he had them. I don't think he overrated them, but I don't think he really understood how good the Jays were. But what he did say about the Jays is they have unbelievable depth in their lineup. And what that is simply saying, to the point that both of you had just made, is that there is no weak link. So pick your poison.
Yeah. Well, when you got somebody like Davis Schneider that can come off the bench and just knock a home run, you got Ernie Clement that's going to grind every little pitch out of it.
Yeah, and Kirk.
And Tyler Heineman even had a great season as the backup catcher.
So pick your poison.
Yeah.
I think Talon makes a great point here. I can't put the comments up, but I think that one from Talon about Bassett, Scherzer, and I think
we were actually going to go to fan questions because I'm getting flooded all of a sudden. I want to make sure we get a bunch of stuff here from Rance.
I think everybody just got home because the people on X just exploded. We went up like 100 people. Anyways, I think this is a great point because just what you said, Rance, is I feel like the MLB on whole knows right now that the Jays have a good chemistry. They have a good locker room. They have a good thing going on right now. And I mean, of course, losing Bassett and Scherzer would not be great for the chemistry of the Jays. But I feel like the leaders on this team make it so that anyone that comes in feels that love. And I've noticed it. The one thing that I've noticed that I didn't see and I've never seen ever before. Do you know who's still in Toronto right now? George Springer. George Springer.
Yeah.
George Springer is still in Toronto. He left for a bit, but he's come back like 4 times, even just since the World Series, to do events. He did a thing with a girl who had a liver transplant. He's like he is now becoming the third pillar with Bo and Vladdy. And the interesting thing for me is the guys like Clement and Luke's, and the to take one from our good friend Travis, the lunch pail guys are now becoming stars in the city and stars in the league. And that's a big difference. When you're a star in the city, that's great. People love like Kirk was a star in the city for a long time. And then they're like, and Craig, I mean, you've always talked about him crushing the baseball when you saw him in the minors. And
I saw him in Bluefield.
Yeah, we knew he was like,
good. Who the hell is this guy?
And then he gets named to the All-Star team, and the whole of America is like, "Who is this guy? Like, look at him!" And then they're like, "Oh, right, he's awesome. Like, potentially the best contact hitter of the last 10 years." Oh, okay,
So I got to tell Rance that story, and anybody else that hadn't heard that one. So I traveled for my day job for a very long time, and I happened to be right next to Bluefield, West Virginia. So the Bluefield Blue Jays were the Appalachian League rookie level for the Toronto Blue Jays at the time, before certain politics has ruined the minor leagues in the last couple of years. And I contacted my buddy Zach, that was the announcer, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to be in town. It'd be nice to actually see you in person for a change." So he goes, yeah, come on over. And I sit down in the booth with him, and I wasn't expecting him to hand me a microphone, but that worked out really well. And we got to chit chat and everything. He goes, "Now, Craig, just remember, everybody, when they see Alejandro Kirk go up to the plate, they stop doing whatever they're doing and they watch." And I'm like, okay, I'm interested. I'm intrigued. When's he coming up? And he goes, "He's up in 2 batteries. He's batting in the 3-hole tonight." And I see this little short, stocky of a man come up to the plate. He taps the plate twice, takes ball 1, takes ball 2, and then the third pitch of that at bat, Rance, goes right down the pipe, and he knocks it over the batter's eye in dead center field into the West Virginia wilderness. And I couldn't believe it. It was just solid contact. It had that crazy click that you don't hear from certain players, and I couldn't believe it. I was so happy, and I've been loving the fact that Zach and I get to keep talking about him to this day in a Blue Jays uniform. It's just a beauty thing.
Yeah, he is. he's not someone that you look at and go, oh, there's a tremendous athlete or hitter. But athletes and hitters come in all shapes and sizes, and most certainly he's proven that he is definitely that. And I'll throw this in there. One of my best personal friends for many, many years now is from Scarborough, Ontario. Was a tremendous golfer in his day, played all over the world. His name's Rick Todd. And his dad, who's still living, Ernie, is about 95 years old. And his favorite player is Alejandro Kirk. So I just want to throw that
game
out.
Recognizes game.
Kind of on a personal note. But Ernie, he loves Alejandro Kirk because he said that man can hit. He can hit.
And he sure as hell can hit.
Yeah, he can hit. So,
I was happy as well. He was able to show his defensive prowess as well. Like, I mean, he's a way better catcher than people give him credit for. So, good for him. And I'm glad. I'm also glad
he's going to win a Gold Glove before it's over with, Jason.
I would say so. And it's nice that the big dumper was able to sort of shine the light back on the really good catchers that the majors do. I mean, it's such an unsung job. You look at a guy like Sal Perez, who's still like, what is he, 41, I think, and he's still, bending down 1,000 times a game.
Yeah,
And,
whatever it is.
like Adley Rutschman, and you've got all these guys, you've got all these stars that are coming up. And it's just nice that the spotlight gets on I have one of my sons as a catcher, so it's nice to see them get their due, because they do run the, as much as the bench is calling pitches and all the rest of it, they run the show.
Well, it does, and I think I can say through experience, not having played the position, but having played, that probably the most, there's no one that would exceed a catcher in terms of mental and physical toughness to play the game, because of the responsibility that goes with it. And obviously, if you sit and watch baseball, nobody takes more of a physical beating day in, day out.
It's the reason they call the catching gear the tools of ignorance.
Yeah, which is kind of ironic, because you've actually, you've got to be able to, number one, call a game. Number two, physically take the beating. Number three, be able to, I think if you really take pride in what you're doing as a catcher, you understand your pitchers and your pitching staff. When the guy that sometimes you need to get on a little bit, maybe kick him in the rear end, and he responds well to that. And the guy that you need to go out there and kind of massage a little bit and tell him, hey, you're going to be okay here. Let's just calm down, whatever, because they're different personalities. So there's an enormous amount of responsibility that goes with being a catcher. And
which is why they all become managers.
It is one of the reasons.
Exactly. I was an infielder my entire career, obviously, DH some, but I didn't have to understand the personalities of the pitchers on the ball club. I didn't have to sit there behind the plate and help get them through a game and go to the mound and occasionally chew on somebody a little bit, or go out there and say, hey, calm down. You're going to be all right. Everything's going to be okay. A couple of good pitches here and we're out of this situation. And so enormous amounts of responsibility. So I have great admiration for those behind the plate.
Yeah. So we got a ton of fan questions going on. I want to make sure that some of these get answered and chit-chatted on here. By the way, if you are in the chat, I'm on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. Just hit me. I can see all of it. So
we're doing our best.
We're doing our best, but I'm like, God, I got too many windows
all right, so pick a few out and let's take an attempt at answering.
Yeah, let's go.
So Maple League Baseball over on our Instagram questions is asking, how would you compare the disappointment of the 2025 Blue Jays felt in the clubhouse to what you and the wonderful gang you played with to the 1987 Blue Jays, Rance? That was obviously you were in inches for that year too.
Oh, I obviously that was a terrible disappointment. And that actually was the toughest loss I, as an individual, and I think maybe even as an organization, experienced. But I don't think that compares to getting to within one clean inning in the 8th or the 9th of being a World Series championship. I would find that more disappointing, because you're so close to winning it all, right?
You could taste it.
You get to the postseason's one thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you get to the postseason, there's no guarantees. But when you get as close as the Jays did this year, that's got to be far more difficult to take than what we experienced in 87.
Yeah. His follow-up to that whole thing is, how do you retool? How do you overcome that point and get ready to go for the next season?
Well, I think you build off the positives. You know, you say, you know, we had a great year. We came within an out or two of being a world champion. So let's go to spring training next year. Let's put our nose back to the grindstone. We don't take anything for granted. We know it's going to be a tough season. It's a long 162 games. So we got to bear down. We got to get after it. And the first goal is to win the division, get back to the postseason, and then we roll from there. And I honestly think that's the attitude the Blue Jays will have. I think that we've talked about it a lot during this conversation. The way the Blue Jays go about their business and their attitude and their desire to win. And I think that's we're going to see that replay itself out next season.
There you go. That is a wonderful way. I just love that. Get back to it. And that's the beauty of baseball. You know, in the regular season, it's like, okay, I screwed up today.
Yeah.
Good thing we're playing another one tomorrow.
Well, I think a great demonstration individually and collectively as a team of the character and what you're made of is, how do you respond to adversity? In this case, coming that close to winning a World Series. So the challenge now is, let us go into 2026 and prove to everybody that we have what it takes to come back from that, rebound back, and have a great season in 2026. I think that's their challenge.
Yeah, I feel like the run that they went on proved a lot to them and to the rest of the league. You know, they had to take on some pretty big teams to get to where they got to. They had to win some massive games, some really huge adversity, and all these other things. And I really feel like it's going to mold the Jays for the next 3 to 5 years. I think the next 3 years, their expectation should be just what you said, Rance: playoffs, deep into them, challenging for a World Series again. And then obviously you're going to start to lose players. You're going to start to see changes. You're going to start to have things happen. But if they can take anything from the team that they just lost to, they can start to see, okay, so if we start to see something faltering at short, we got to dig in at short and get somebody for, 2 years. So we got to be thinking 2 years down the road, fill the coffers. We're not super does anybody even know who the Dodgers farm team is? No, they don't.
Seems
no
like
one
we got a new guy every week, though.
They don't, because they just pull MLB players. And when they do go to their farm, I feel like they're savvy enough to keep those guys protected and still play them, like a guy like Arjun coming up with the Jays. Does his career path match up with Bo Bichette's twilight, moving into a DH, and allowing Arjun to take over that position? I mean, it almost writes itself. Like, Arjun is 3 years away from being a legit major leaguer, maybe 2.
Yep. And then you have JoJo not too far behind him, too.
And JoJo's not too far behind him. So, I mean,
but that's the athleticism you draft. You draft athletes.
Yeah. If you go back, you can talk about the Dodgers, and the Dodgers obviously have signed some players, spent a lot of money, and I understand that. But in order, if we go back the last 5 or 6 years, what have the Dodgers been? They've been a tremendous ball club. And so that also indicates that they're doing a lot of things right outside of just signing players. They're doing a lot of things right in development, drafting, and so forth and so on. So don't want to take anything away from them, but you got to also, if you come back to the Blue Jays, to get to where they are today, they've done a lot of things right as well. And if they continue to do this, which I believe they will, they're going to be, in the next 5 or 6 years, we'll be looking back. Hopefully, I think we have the chance to look back at them and say, you know what? They were just as good, if not better, than the Dodgers, the Yankees, some of these other teams in all areas. And I really think that's what we're looking at today. I really, really do.
Yeah. So, Got a couple other questions here in the fun with the fan chat and everything. Our buddy Pet Pie P. First off, wouldn't mind hearing. Well, I can put it up. I forgot I'm on the right screen this time. Wouldn't mind hearing where Rance thinks Mattingly goes and in what situation. Obviously, this is your old adversary, a guy that we obviously got to enjoy for a couple of seasons here in Toronto. What do you think's up next for Donnie baseball?
I don't know. I'm going to assume that he definitely wants to stay in baseball. So I would think
he seems like a lifer. I really don't see him taking his hat off.
I think so. I think not having thought through the process of what opportunities may be in terms of managing a team.
Yeah.
For Donnie, I think it's a strong possibility that he may end up a bench coach someplace else, or maybe in the front office as an assistant to a GM or something of that nature.
That was my thoughts, because he's just got such a great baseball mind. Go, Jason.
You want to hear a really bold prediction?
Oh, here it goes.
Do you know where I think he's going to end up? I think he's going to end up in Oakland, so that when they make the transfer over to Vegas and make a big to-do out of it, they are going to be pulling names from everywhere to add to that team. That team is going to have a completely different look. It's going to have a different feel. The stadium is going to be bonkers. They're going to be dumping money into that thing. And if there's one guy who seems to always have a decent draw when you're talking about, baseball icons that are still on the bench, I got to think that that's where he's going to end up. So maybe he does a year somewhere else. Yeah, maybe he does a year somewhere else, or the A's take them into
you can't. You're not supposed to say Oakland anymore. You know that, right? It's supposed to be the
Sacramento.
I still call them the Oakland.
Soon to be Vegas A's.
Soon to be Vegas, but that may be.
I call them the not so Oakland A's.
That may be a possibility. I mean, who knows? I definitely think Donnie's going to end up somewhere, but I think Donnie is in a position to where he can be selective, I believe, as to where he wants to go. And I definitely feel like there's going to be some good options there for him, because I think not only was he a great player, that speaks for itself, but I think he's a person of character, and what he brings to the organization goes far beyond what he accomplished as a player. I think he's a really good baseball man, and I think he is just a top-notch individual to go with it. And that's what you want to bring in. You want to bring in that guy that has those individual qualities that are going to be a positive for your organization.
Yeah. So what was it like playing across the diamond from that gentleman all those years?
He was fun to watch. He was fun to watch. And he was a challenge. I always enjoyed play. I think you enjoy the challenge of playing against people like Donnie. And I will say this: his work ethic, his approach to the game, the way he played the game, as somebody who played against him, had great admiration and respect for just the way he went about his profession. And obviously, he was a tremendous player, but to go beyond the stats, you just appreciated the way he played the game.
There you go. So speaking of somebody that you had this a little bit more pleasure seeing a little bit more often than at least every other couple of weeks, with the Yankees, one of our fan questions was, if your buddy Dave Steve was playing a little south of the border, how many Cy Young awards do you think that fine man would have been playing in? Because he was incredible to watch, and you had a front row seat to seeing one of the best pitchers in Blue Jays history.
Yes. I don't know that's because obviously you got to have a great season or two, maybe 3 or 4 in there. And then it becomes a little bit subjective, because those that have a vote to determine who wins the Cy Young, there you have that factor, which is, you can't disregard that. It is a big factor. But I don't know. I would really be guessing. He pitched for several years for a great ball club in Toronto. never was given a Cy Young. And I think there were probably, if we look back, and I'm drawn, I can't give you specific numbers, but I think we can look back.
Our friend Brooke, who is the math magician that she is, she was saying if you were judging by current day statistics, the way they basically judge everything these days,
he'd won a Cy Young. Oh yeah,
3 easy.
Yeah, he'd won. But I would also say this: it was probably during the course of Dave's career where he had seasons that whoever was given the Cy Young, awarded the Cy Young award, didn't have the year that Dave did.
Yeah, 1,000%.
And so, yeah, if you compare him to today, oh my goodness, yeah, the number of innings pitched, the complete games, the ERA, etc. Yeah, yeah. But
what was it like being in the lineup card behind him every day?
I'm sorry, but if Dave was pitching today, he'd have probably been 5-6 innings, and he'd have been out of the ball game, even though he would still be throwing the baseball great. So
that's just not the way the game's played anymore. And it's a shame because you don't get to see those kind of things like you see with Dave. And if he was pitching on 6 innings, games he would have pitched until his arm fell off, and it was probably 50s.
Yeah. Well, I think I've mentioned before, the one thing about this 100 pitch count, whatever it may be, I think it has stifled a little bit. Because there are guys that are horses that can go out there and throw 130, 135, sometimes 140, and they can come back 5 days later and they're fine. And that's kind of part of it that I don't like, because there are some stallions and some horses that can give you a lot of innings and are very durable. And I think the way the game is approached today in terms of starting pitching, it's limited that. In other words, it hasn't, in some instances, I believe, allow some starting pitchers to ultimately fulfill their potential. And that's just my opinion.
To that point, I'm sure it was a pleasure being at third or short or wherever you ended up playing that day behind Dave.
Yeah, I know it was great to play behind him, but back to my opinion, like I like to say, $4 or $5, in my opinion, to buy you a cup of coffee anywhere in town. So you can take that for what it's worth.
Good deal. So yeah, Jason, I feel like I haven't let you talk a minute here. You got to get something in before the end of the episode, bud. You're on mute.
Unmute yourself, Jason.
Yeah, unmute myself. Way to go, rookie. I mean, I feel like we've talked about a lot of super positive things. I feel like this is what, and I appreciate there's a couple of hundred people, milling about in the chats and in the different parts of this, which, I mean, for an off season, podcast about the Blue Jays, it's just awesome. I know it's probably mostly Rance. It's not me or Craig, but I just,
we don't have our celebrity of our own this tonight.
Yeah, our own celebrity
at our holiday party.
Do you want to talk about the giveaway first, or do you want to wait for
I want to make sure everybody got their points in here. So yeah,
I got my points in. I got my fill.
Go for it.
I can listen to Rance for 10 more hours, but I got a Christmas party to get to tonight.
There you go. So on that note, Rance and everybody, we did have this wonderful giveaway for this, and I did roll the dice for our wonderful 287 followers on the subscriptions for our YouTube channel that we're now finally paying attention to our YouTube channel. So on that note, make sure you head over there, get that click. So you gotta, we haven't been pushing that one for a very long time, and we're trying to get that all set up a little bit. And we're going to be giving out giveaways for the next few weeks, incling a Josh Donaldson signed autograph ball from my personal collection. That's for our 500th.
It was his birthday this week.
It was his birthday this week, the MVP.
Yeah,
so,
the bringer of rain.
Yep. Scotty Moresi, you are the proud new owner of this. So I'm going to be messaging you on our YouTube channels. Congratulations. That's at Scotty MORISSEY 8915 on YouTube. You are the proud new owner of this wonderful Blue Jays bottle cap sign that is the size of my head.
Yeah.
So good deal. But anyway,
I've got
I feel like we gotta get
2.
one story out of Rance before we run off. But Jason, if you gotta pop smoke, run off.
Well, I mean, I figure I can talk about giveaway number 2, and then if you guys want to keep going, you can keep going. So giveaway number 2, we're trying to do the Jay Birdie days of Christmas, and hopefully we've got something for the end for all. So I a little while ago had a really great call with Paul and John from Backyard Bats. They are a company that was founded in Windsor, Ontario. They also have an office in the U.S. They make really high-quality bats. I know that Davis Snyder, Vladdy, a few of the other Jays were using their bats this year. Castellanos from the Phillies hit a couple home runs with a Backyard this year. So they have supplied me with a beautiful, super unique, one-of-a-kind, tie-dyed Backyard's Bats 11 and a half infielder's glove. So this is the prize right here. And what we will do is Craig and I will give it away later this week. It's likes and follows, baby. We want people smashing those buttons, and the more people that can get in there. But we'll give this away this week, and then we'll get it out to you as quick as we can.
Yeah. So, of course, like in typical fashion, we always got to end on a joke here because that's how we do our show. So I don't know if you guys have seen the wonderful Ryan Reynolds commercial yet that has been floating around the internet. But if Blue Jays fans have somehow not...
I don't think so, no.
Oh, my God.
I think this summed up my Blue Jay fandom
it's incredible.
Perfectly for how the World Series ended. And I'm going to play it. I'm going to put the audio on, and obviously we'll... just chit chat on it here for a second. I just got to hurry up and click some buttons in the right fashion here.
And it's for charity.
And that's the best part.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Ever since we started making our annual video to raise money for Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto a few years ago, I've heard from so many generous Canadians offering a co-star that we actually have a wait list. And this year, well, it just happens to be the pride of Ontario and Los Angeles. That's right, Mr. Freddie Freeman.
I love that one's a really good one.
Hey, kids. It's me, Freddie Freeman.
What a loser.
Trust me, man. You know who you are.
You really got some nerve coming here.
I just wanted to visit because I'm just so happy and so proud of how you guys are. Whoa, who threw that?
Go back to your sunshine and traffic, you hoser. You ruined everything.
By the way, I love what you guys are doing here.
Let's go, Blue Jays. Let's go, Blue Jays. Let's go, Blue Jays.
Do you even lift, bro?
Let's go, Blue Jays.
I asked him in March. What are the odds? Donate before midnight on December 24th, and our friends, they're going to match donations up to $1 million.
So what a wonderful way to sum up Toronto Blue Jays fandom to end out 2025 with a great cause. And could it be any funnier? That's the thing. I just love that Freddie Freeman was such a good sport to even do that and just kind of take one on the chin while he's the champion, even with sick kids. I just thought it was
brilliant. I love the comment, you hoser.
Yeah. Do you even lift, bro? Like, I mean, come on. It's so funny. Just the whole thing. It really is like, I have to appreciate the fact that Ryan Reynolds is an absolute comedic genius, but at some point, someone on his team or himself thought, it'd be really funny if we dragged Freddie back here and made fun of him right after they won, which is probably exactly what he did. He probably just phoned him and had like, hey, we got an idea. And Freddie, knowing Freddie, was like, I'm on it. I'll be on the next flight.
Yeah.
Game on.
That was great. That was great.
Like I said, got to end on a joke, Rance. That's how every good speech goes,
okay,
right? Mr.
Right.
Motivational Speaker. So, all right, kids. Go ahead, Jason. I'm going to make sure I give Rance his last moment here, and we'll talk it out.
Rance, great to see you, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Good to see you. If I don't see you, Merry Christmas.
Same to you.
Bud.
Thank you.
So, Rance, I got to give you your last few minutes or minute here just to tell everybody once again where they can find you, what you're up to. And my one buddy, our sponsor, our friend at Jay Birdie, wants to hear about the 5 C's really quick.
The 5 C's?
Yes. Or is it that short?
Huh?
Well, your motivational speaking career and what you're up to these days. Yep.
Well, obviously I have the website at rancemulliniks.com. And to boil it down, the message is that the core of the message is the challenge of change and the significance and how it can impact all of our lives. You have to have, for me, you have to have passion. You have to have a burning desire to learn. And you also have to be able to take on and accept change when it is necessary. And the one thing that I've experienced in my life as a professional athlete and post my playing career, not only for me personally, but with others, is the most difficult challenge that comes along for most of us, I believe, is change. Because change can be very difficult for any number of reasons. And sometimes that may just simply mean, in order for us to get to where we want to go and achieve our goals, sometimes I think it's natural to think as an athlete, we got to change something physically. Sometimes we need to change maybe the way we think, our thought process about hitting or pitching or whatever it may be. But what I think goes untold or maybe unrecognized is the fact that sometimes we have to change some things about ourselves in order to be the person that we need to be to accomplish our goals. And that's my core message.
And that's a wonderful message.
I hope that resonates with people.
Yeah.
So that's my goal.
It feels like, as somebody that played baseball for a million years and also has to do way too much change every day to figure out what the hell I'm actually doing, I completely hear you.
Yes.
So
because I think that's something, the last part of that message is something that I think oftentimes gets missed, is sometimes we have to change some things about ourselves that will enable us to reach and attain our goal. Because if we don't, we'll never get there. And that is probably the most difficult challenge of all.
Yep. I agree with you, my friend. So thank you very much for joining us. You will always have a microphone ready for you here whenever you want to come and join us and talk more Blue Jays and baseball stories in general. We love having you. And I know Liz was a little upset that she had a holiday party, so she missed out her time to chit chat with you this evening. So we're going to have to have you back again.
Well, anytime. I enjoy it. And, obviously I love to talk baseball. It is a passion of mine, and hopefully I can pass along something positive that helps somebody else
there you go.
Achieve whatever their personal goals may be. And I appreciate it. So Merry Christmas to everybody, and look forward to see what happens the end of this week and with the Jays and going forward.
I think it's gonna be a crazy end of the week. It feels like we're on the precipice of something, doesn't it? Like something just is gonna just go boom, and then we're gonna have like a whole new crazy lineup or something.
Yeah. Well, we may. So lots of times, as we all know through experience, lots of times when it gets right down to the last few hours of the winter meetings, things start to happen very rapidly. So let's keep
usually I think
and hope it works.
Wrap up tomorrow, I think, too. So there is that. Yeah. So thank you again, Rance. I got to also thank our wonderful sponsors, our friend Daryl and everybody at Jay Birdie Baseball Company. Head over to Jay Birdie Baseball Company website, get those holiday wonderful scented pine tree hats that Liz was modeling off. Make sure you hit the promo code for JBirdPod15 and you'll get a nice little discount in your pocket too. So always extra, a little nice to have a little extra money to spend this time here.
Sure. Yeah.
Good deal.
Well, again, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everybody. And let's do it again soon.
Sounds good, Rance. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers, everybody, and have a great night. We'll see you next week with former Major League pitcher, Zach Lutz. Have a great week. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to the Jay Bird Watching Podcast. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch at BirdwatchingGC, and our YouTube channel. If you want to support the show and get extra content, please consider joining to our Patreon at patreon.com/birdwatchinggc. Go Jays, go.
Woo!